I never imagined that a simple weekend trip could turn into the moment my entire life shifted. It was supposed to be a family bonding trip, just me, my wife, and her two sisters. We had planned it a month in advance, thinking it would be a nice escape from the routine of city life. The idea was to drive out into the countryside, rent a little cottage, and enjoy some peace. But as the hours passed, I began to sense something odd. The girls were whispering and giggling behind my back, exchanging glances and occasionally bursting into laughter when they thought I wasn't looking. Still, I brushed it off. Maybe they were just excited about the trip or had something funny to share among themselves. But once we arrived at a gas station 200 miles away from home, that's when everything changed. My wife asked me to go inside and get some drinks. I agreed, still unsuspecting, and went in. When I came out, the car was gone. Just like that. At first I thought it was a prank, a little joke where they'd drive around and come back laughing. I even smiled, waiting at the curb, thinking I'd hear them honk and wave. 10 minutes passed, then 20, then an hour. My smile faded into confusion, then disbelief, and finally panic. I tried calling my wife, then her sisters. No one picked up. Texts were marked as delivered, but no replies came. The sun was starting to set, and I was in the middle of nowhere with no transportation, no wallet, no phone charger, and only the clothes on my back. That's when it hit me, they had left me there on purpose. The moment of realization came slowly, like a cold hand closing around my chest. This wasn't a prank that had gone too far, it was an intentional act. The worst part wasn't being stranded, it wasn't the hunger, the fear, or the aching legs. The worst part was the betrayal. I kept asking myself why they would do something like this. What had I done to deserve it? I wasn't a perfect husband, but I had always tried to be kind, supportive, and patient with them, even when the sisters crossed boundaries. My wife had always been close to her family, and I had respected that. But as I sat on the curb of that gas station, surrounded by strangers and neon signs, I began to question everything. With no phone battery left, I found myself walking to the nearest diner just to use their line. The waitress took pity on me and let me make a call. I dialed my friend Jacob, someone I hadn't talked to in months but whom I trusted. He picked up immediately, and the first thing I said was, "They left me." There was silence on the line before he asked where I was. I told him, and he said he'd come. It would take hours, but he promised he'd get me. That night, I sat in a corner booth, drinking water and watching the rain smear across the window. Every drop felt like a reminder that the life I had built, my marriage, my relationships, might be based on something fake. And as the hours passed, something inside me hardened. I wasn't going to go back like nothing happened. Something had shifted deep in me. Jacob arrived just before dawn, his old truck rattling as it pulled up outside the diner. He looked exhausted, wearing a hoodie and slippers. But when he saw me, he didn't ask questions. He just gave me a hug. That moment felt more genuine than anything I'd experienced in months. On the drive back, I told him everything. How they laughed during the trip, the strange glances, and the cold silence afterward. He clenched the steering wheel tighter with each word. "Man, that's messed up," he said finally. "You don't deserve that." I nodded, still trying to hold myself together. Once back in the city, Jacob let me crash at his place. I didn't contact my wife. I didn't want to hear her excuses or her laugh it off. I needed space to think. Over the next few days, I started piecing myself back together. I got a new phone, new clothes, and a small job through Jacob's contacts just to keep myself busy. I found a therapist, someone I could talk to without judgment. And day by day, I started to feel something I hadn't in a long time: clarity. It was like waking up from a long, toxic dream. I realized how much of myself I had lost trying to fit into her world, trying to keep the peace, trying to please people who had no respect for me. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. The days turned into weeks. My wife didn't call. Not once. Her silence was louder than any apology could have been. I saw on social media that she had posted photos with her sisters, all smiles, all pretending. Nothing had happened. It was sickening. I could have confronted her. I could have shown up at our home and demanded answers. But I didn't want to give her that power anymore. Instead, I focused on rebuilding. I moved into a small studio apartment, started saving money, and even picked up an old hobby: woodworking. Something about shaping rough pieces into something beautiful gave me peace. Jacob kept me grounded, reminding me that healing doesn't mean forgetting, it means choosing yourself. One evening, while scrolling through job listings, I found something interesting. A company in another state was looking for someone with my exact skill set. It was a stretch, but I applied. A week later, they offered me the job. It felt like a sign, a chance to truly start over. I accepted. I packed up my things, left a short letter for my wife. No anger, no bitterness, just truth, and boarded a bus out of town. For the first time in years, I felt free. No more walking on eggshells. No more fake smiles. Just me, and a road ahead that I could finally call my own. Moving to a new city wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Every street, every building, every unfamiliar face reminded me that I had left something behind, and that was a good thing. I threw myself into my new job, working hard and earning respect from people who saw me for who I was. not who I used to be. I made friends, real ones this time. People who listened, laughed, and never treated me like a joke. There was one colleague in particular, Emma. She was kind, thoughtful, and sharp as a tack. We started as coworkers, then lunch buddies, and eventually, something more. I didn't rush it. I wasn't looking to replace anyone or fill a void. But with her, everything felt different. There was no manipulation, no games, just honesty. One evening, while we were walking through a local art fair, I told her everything. The prank, the abandonment, the silence. She didn't pity me. She just listened, held my hand, and said, "You didn't deserve that, but you deserve this. Peace." Her words stayed with me for days. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about healing, about choosing a life where I didn't have to prove my worth to anyone. Months passed, and life settled into something beautiful. I was finally happy, truly. But then one evening, my old phone number got reactivated, and messages started flooding in, from my wife, from her sisters, one after another, unread paragraphs, missed calls, voicemails. Apparently, one of their friends had stumbled upon a photo of me online with Emma, and it sparked chaos. They were shocked to see me smiling, thriving, living. My wife's tone shifted from casual to desperate. "I miss you," she wrote. "Can we talk?" But it was too late. She had made her choice the day she laughed as I stood alone on the roadside. I didn't reply. Instead, I blocked the numbers, deleted the messages, and kept walking forward. Closure doesn't always come with words. Sometimes, it comes with silence. I did eventually hear through mutual friends that my wife was spiraling, that she had tried to defend what they did as a joke, but most people didn't find it funny. Apparently, even her parents were shocked. I wasn't surprised. Actions have consequences, and hers were catching up. But that wasn't my concern anymore. I was busy living the life I had built from the ruins. I started my own business, a small design studio. Emma and I moved in together. She encouraged me to share my story anonymously on a blog, and the response was overwhelming. Thousands of people, men and women, messaged me about how they, too, had been treated like jokes in their own relationships. It became something bigger than me, a voice for people who had been abandoned, humiliated, and left to fend for themselves. I never expected that. But maybe that was the best revenge, not revenge at all, but success, peace, and purpose. While they laughed that day, they had no idea they were giving me the push I needed to reclaim myself. Sometimes I still think about that moment, the gas station, the fading sunlight, the disbelief. It used to haunt me. Now, it motivates me. Every bad moment led me to a better version of myself. If they hadn't left me there, I might still be stuck in a life built on lies and manipulation. Instead, I found truth, not in words, but in actions. In choosing myself every single day. I don't hate them. I don't even wish them ill. But I'll never forget, and I'll never go back. Because the man who stood there on that roadside, he deserved better. And now, he's finally getting it. So if you're watching this and you've ever felt discarded, humiliated, or made to feel like you didn't matter, know this. You're not alone, and you're not broken. Sometimes the people who hurt us the most are the ones closest to us. But healing begins when you stop waiting for an apology and start rebuilding without them. I'm not telling you this story for sympathy. I'm telling it because someone out there needs to hear it. You can walk away, you can start over, and you can become someone even you didn't know you could be. Because when they left me 200 miles from home, they thought they were ending something. But what they really did was set me free.